Well, the city of Cape Town wants to boost its energy reserves by introducing hydroelectric power onto the grid. This is on the back of unrelenting power cuts across the country. Let's talk about the situation in the Western Cape with Premier Winde joining us now. Premier, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for being on Daytime Update today. So the Western Cape has, for much of this crisis, been able to fare better in the lower stages of the rolling power cuts. How bad is it for you now?
Obviously, as we go above level 4, it really becomes very difficult to manage across the province. I think, as you've said, in the city of Cape Town, we've been investing for quite a few years, and they are definitely able to mitigate at least 2 levels of load shedding. Their tenders, first round of tenders, have already closed on the next round of energy provision. As you've said, they're now going to expand the Stenbros Dam hydro plant. So they really are quite far ahead with procurement. There's a lot of small embedded generation, the SSEG system, which has been running for years. So a lot of households and businesses can put small, under the 1 megawatt into the system, so that mitigates risk. But when you move to level 4, 5, and 6, it starts to change the dynamic across all of our towns and municipalities across the province. For example, at level 6, the water system cannot get sufficient pump time to pump the reservoirs, so you don't have full reservoirs for water. The sewage systems, many of them need those constant pumps working to enable the movement of the black water and the sewage water. So when those levels of load shedding come in, then it becomes very, very much more difficult to manage. That's why we had a cabinet meeting last Sunday already, looking at where the risks are. Some of our municipalities and the private sector, we moved generators to certain towns to make sure that their water sustainability can be sustained at level 6. And then, of course, the diesel supply is also under pressure because suddenly you've got generators running many, many more hours every single day in your key areas, maybe running pumps. But for us in the province, running our hospitals, and you can't run out of energy in an ICU, right? Because people's lives are reliant on those machines in our hospitals and in our intensive care units. So diesel is under pressure. So that's why it's really critical that your disaster teams meet, that you know every single department what those issues are, how we work together, and then communicate with the public and say, please. We know it is disastrous when you have this kind of level of load shedding, but please help us use water sparingly, flush toilets sparingly, try not to put too much pressure on the system because we actually have to manage our way through it.
Just on the issue of concerns around diesel levels at your emergency centres, when we say they're under pressure, are you days away from running out, weeks?
Okay, so for example, our management system, we can see the diesel levels in all of our hospitals, the diesel levels at our key areas that need to be managed and keep the lights on. So we monitor those levels. I know that on Monday, one of our municipalities was under pressure from a water pump point of view and not insufficient generation. So then what we would do is ring fence that area from load shedding so the pumps can get the water. But that's kind of how the management system works. We know that Thursday was probably a crunch point at level 6 for diesel supply across the province, but we met on Monday with all of the diesel suppliers, and there's a plan with enough new diesel coming in because all the diesel is imported at the moment, so ships are bringing diesel towards us. And the management system has managed to mitigate that risk, but you've got to keep an eye on it every single day. And I'm also asking now, we've got another cabinet meeting on Wednesday evening with all municipalities, all mayors and municipal managers, as well as the province, with our police, with the military, just understanding where we are, what the risks are, and do we need to increase our buffer of supply or the buffer of diesel? Do we have shortfalls of generators in places that we're picking up now that are not coping? That's what that regular feedback will be from our disaster.
Financially, how much strain do you expect this will have to put on you now, given that it has been such a fluid situation around load shedding?
Okay, so financially, I don't have that number yet, but I can see different departments coming back to say we are running out of budget on our diesel. So what we will do is probably at Wednesday's cabinet, we'll look at what are the other measures we must put in place. It would be an adjustment budget to make sure we've got sufficient funding for that diesel. There could be other mechanisms. I've also asked for some other ideas on what can we do immediately now to mitigate even more risk. Is there a way we can speed up the system? I know we're really trying very hard across our municipalities. Are there any blockages in the way? What do we need to do to speed that up? Do we build bigger buffer systems? My reading of the situation is that there is a chance that it could get worse, especially over the next year or two as new energy comes in. What are our contingency plans? Because we learn lessons every time this happens. We know that cell phone towers are losing their capability from their battery power, so our communication systems are being put under strain from an emergency point of view. What alternatives can we put in place? So that's the kind of management system now, is just making sure we're understanding risk and mitigating that risk and then communicating with the system.
The President is back in the country as of today. He's going to chair an urgent meeting of Cabinet tomorrow where the issues around Eskom and the electricity crisis will be top of the agenda. As Premier of one of the 9 provinces, how much hope are you pinning on that meeting as far as actual workable solutions that will be helpful to South Africans in the immediate term?
Well, I think the last time that we had the sort of announcement that we were going to change the procurement environment to 100 megawatts for municipalities, remove some of that red tape, that definitely helped us. Hopefully we see some more of that. I do know that as part of my responsibility on Sunday, I already communicated with the President and the Presidency, this is what we are doing in our province. I'm not sure what's happening in the other provinces. And this is what our disaster management plan looks like, and this is how we are managing. At the same time, I haven't been called to that national cabinet. I presume that's just the cabinet itself. It's not a provincial coordinating council, but we'll wait and see. We will feed through what we are busy doing. But of course, we must I take full responsibility for this province, and we're going to make sure that we put more and more and better mitigation in place and find energy as quickly as possible, because now what's happening is our economy is being hurt even further. There are businesses now that just cannot operate at all. This puts so much more strain on the everyday lives of our citizens. For example, we had to look on Sunday to making sure there was sufficient energy and space for the printing of the matric exam papers, because they started printing our papers on Monday. Have you got mechanisms in place should this be a much more prolonged for the writing of matric exams? What are those plans? Do we have to invest further in it? Those are the kind of questions we need to be asking ourselves, because I really don't I don't see this massive quick fix on the horizon in the next couple of weeks. These things take a long time to fix, because this is a big problem. It should have been fixed years ago, but obviously we're in this situation. I'm not going to stand here blaming and complaining. I'm going to find solutions.
Winde, Western Cape Premier, good to have your time. Thank you.